Hello, Nathan. Welcome to Gripsport Latino. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. I am really excited to have you here
Thank you.
in a new episode.
Yes, they've been very good. Been enjoying them.
Nice. Yes, I've seen you. I've seen you there, and I really like it. It's like a huge honor to have you watching and commenting from time to time. So
Thank you.
let's get into the interview. I will switch the introduction to Spanish for the Spanish speakers so they can understand at least the first part of the interview, and then I'll translate it to Spanish. Bienvenidos amigos a un nuevo episodio de Gripsport Latino. Hoy tenemos un invitado de honor, Nathan Holle, la leyenda de Gripsport, uno de los 5 certificados en el Captains of Crush número 4. Welcome everyone to a new episode of Gripsport Latino. Here we are with a Gripsport legend, Nathan Holle. He is one of the 5 people certified on their number 4 official list. So I want to hear it from you, Nathan. Tell us your personal introduction for the people who doesn't know who you are. Please tell us.
Not much to tell, really. I got into grip training at a young age, around 12, 13, mainly because I wanted to train squats and deadlifts, but my father said it's a bit unsafe, so he'd let me pinch plates or hang from a bar and that sort of thing. And then around about 18, 19, one of my brothers come across the hand grippers, and then it got more streamlined from there. But like reading old strength books, seeing people like Herman Gorner pinch plates, reading about Thomas Inch. So we had a basis, fumbling our way through. But then when we found Iron Minds grippers, that was what really took it off and sort of really streamlined it more into what it is now.
Really nice. Tell me, Nathan, which is your height and your current body weight?
So I'm 193 centimeters tall, well, just over 6'3", and 120 kilos. I don't know what that is in stones, maybe 19 stones, something like that.
Nice. Really good. And what's your occupation? What do you do for a living?
I run my own carpentry joinery business, so woodwork, making furniture and that sort of thing.
Nice. Well, I was mentioning that one of your main Gripsport achievements is to be certified on the number 4. But which are your main Gripsport achievements apart of the gripper things?
As in, what's my favorite sort of accomplishments? So plate curling. I love plate curling, and like my best is a 25 kilo Olympic plate for 2 reps, but I would only do 2 reps anyway. And then I also love pinching as well. Pinching, I really fond of one-hand pinching with plates. And I think I've got 2 34 kilo plates I made myself, and that's about my best with my right hand. So around about 69 kilos, something like that.
69 with one hand?
Yes.
Whoa, it's the first time I heard that. Amazing, Nathan.
In fairness, the plates are a bit rough, so there's a bit of texture to them because they're just rough cast plates. Smooth plates, painted plates, I don't know, be a lot less.
Well, it's a great achievement.
Thank you.
We have a comment from Panagiotis from Greece, the legend of the legend. Shout out to Panagiotis. Well, let's start with the many questions from the followers of the page. From Australia, Glenzie Hunter. He wanted to know, when did you find out about Gripsport? Well, you answered that in the introduction. So, how did you discover it was from your? Give me a second. Okay, how did you learn more about Gripsport?
So when me and my brothers got into it, that was about 1999, 2000. There was very little other than history stuff with like Thomas Ince or Charles Van Tart, all these old time grip people. There wasn't much in the way of grip competitions. There was some in England run by David Horn. He had a British Grip Championship on a go, but worldwide it was quite low level. So that it was very hard, and the internet wasn't really going then. So we just sort of pushed along our own way, trying to see how we could just get stronger. And the grippers were a big gateway because the grippers were very good to use. So we just sort of fumbled the way through, and then as grip started to grow, people began to find what were the sort of feats, like pinching plates. So they were, crushing, pinch grip, thick bar, wrists, and then to some degree bending as well. So along that, so we sort of just discovered it, not by ourselves, but because there wasn't much information. So we would talk to people like Robert Baraban. It'd be phone calls. It wouldn't be emails because emails would be too difficult. So it was just sort of going along to find what worked and what didn't work, and so getting through. But as it got more popular, then we started to find out the better routes to go down. So if that makes sort of sense.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. There's a comment from Tiziano Vecchio. Hi, my friend, two strong friends. Hi, Tiziano, how are you?
Doing very, very well. Doing very well.
And Dirty Twister, Yorkshire tea is much better than Welsh tea.
No, Steve is yeah, he's wrong, of course, but if it wasn't for Steve Slater, Steve lent me his original blob, his Fat Man blob. He managed to get one, and he lent that to me, which is very kind of him. But he's wrong about tea. Welsh tea is the best. Yeah.
I haven't tried any of those, so I will have to try them to make my own opinion. Really nice. They want to know also, that's from Glenn as well. Back in the day, where could you buy equipment?
So there wasn't much. So Iron Mind had a few grippers and some other bits, but there really wasn't anything. So our only supplier was Pullum Sports in England, where we managed to get some grippers from. But other than that, we had to make it ourselves. So just made what felt right to sort of lift, because it's hard because there was no real feats to go for other than the grippers, because there wasn't really standard set. There were a few things from America. Richard Soren had done a few things. There were old people like Carl Norberg, who's amazing, story to read, and like John Davis, he was pinching plates. So we were chasing some of those feats. There was feats by like Apollon, there's Apollon dumbbell, which is now called the Millennium dumbbell. So we were chasing those sort of feats. So we were just making it, and we knew the categories. So we knew the pinch was a category, the gripper, crushing was, wrist was. So we sort of angled our equipment towards those main parts, and that's basically how we train. So we train the main strength, and then we try to apply that to the feat itself. So we train for strength and in practice for the feats.
Perfect. There's another comment from another Chilean gripster, Bruno, 21 SDPO. Regards to Nathan. Shout out to Bruno. How are you, man?
Hello, Bruno. I met Bruno. Bruno came over. Very nice man. Very, very nice fellow.
Nice. Then Glenn wants to know, which is the favorite piece of your collection?
So So other than magazines and books, I don't know. Maybe my original number 4, my single stamped number 4 gripper. Maybe that. I think I'd say that. Yeah.
Is that the one that you used to certify?
It wasn't. The rules changed a few times. So when I certified, there was the original rules, and then the rules changed slightly. So I did it again, where a new gripper had to be sent. So when I certified, I did my own gripper and somebody else's gripper. So no, I didn't use that one. But that one's, yeah, it's very, very tough and very wide. It's around 89 millimeters between the handles, and it's just great. Just like it because it's just feels nice, and that's that. The first grippers I ordered were 3 and a 4. My brother bought the 2. Once I felt the 4, I just felt like a brick. Just felt like an immovable. You know, I thought I got to close it. I got to try and beat this, and yeah, for me, it's that. It's my favorite thing. I'll never part with it.
Excellent. Then this one is about the equipment that you are building. How did you find yourself making the inch dumbbells? What's the story behind your replicas?
So, around 1999, 2000, Ironmind, Slater Foundry or Staber Foundry, forgive me, I can't remember, were making replicas, but they were making them as solid casts. So the globes and the handle are one piece, so they're very misshapen. So they were sort of very round, because cast iron can't be square. It can't have a square edge, it breaks. So we knew that Thomas Hinch himself was using steel pipe as a handle, which would give it a very clean globes on there. We couldn't get to the original one. We knew who owned it at the time, but we couldn't get to it. So we were starting to think, well, we need to feel what this is like, you know, because we were trying to think of ways to train for it, making prototypes and equipment. So we just thought we'll just make it. We live in Wales, and you know, it's over in the UK. It was cast iron. It is our thing. It's our main. You know, we Sheffield make steel. It's one of the driving industries of the world, so we should still be able to make things. So then we just reverse engineered it. We read what people said it weighed and how it looked, figured out the density of cast iron, and just started going at it. We made 2 to start with. We gave 1 to Chris James in Port Talbot, who cleaned it, and we kept 1. And then people started asking, "Can you help us?" Because we can't get hold of one, and we just started going from there. Just to mainly help people out, because you know the original is such a what is the most iconic grip, you know, feat there is. It's the oldest, and if anybody sees inch dumbbell, they have to try it. They can't just leave it alone. So we thought we would just try and help people out and make them and get them to them.
Excellent. Ben Helms, his Instagram is Dem Buglas. He also wants to know what motivated you to start. Well, we spoke about inch dumbbells, but also blobs. What motivated you to start making blobs?
Just because they've gone rare. So there's a few different blobs, and again, around 2001, 2002, we read about what blobs were and how they came about. We managed to get some back then, because they weren't as rare as they were then, so we managed to get some from New York. And then the prices went through the roof, so people were buying York blobs, you know, York Fat Man blobs, as they were called, for hundreds of pounds each. And there's not many left, and they're going a bit rare. So my main thought was to try and replicate the main Fat Man, so people can have a try. And then try and increase I made a 30 kilo, which is a bit of an odd shape. I've got to redesign that, but the idea was to keep it the same as the Fat Man, just increase the the weights of a grip size always the same, just the weight goes up. Because obviously the bigger blobs, some are just ginormous and, you know, no one can get their hand on it. So my thought process is to keep it the same size as the fat man, increase the weight, just so people have access to a fat man without having this, you know. I mean, if you can find the original ones, great, but the idea was just to help people get them and use them.
Nice. Well, speaking about more like a training question, Ben Helms wants to know how long did it take you to clean the inch dumbbell? And Bruno has that question for you as well.
I've got it written down. So I did it around, I think it was 2015, 2016. And it took me around about a year and a half, 2 years to get it. But it's not a power clean, it's more of a dumbbell swing. So, which Ben is fantastic at. If you need to learn how to do it, Ben is like a proper old school. That's exactly how I learned. I learned from reading Arthur Saxon and Thomas Inch, both masters at dumbbell swing, and Ben does it absolutely perfect. But it took me around a year and a half to 2 years to get it. But yeah, it's not a power clean. I don't think. I hope I'll be able to get that strong. Because if you watch Lane Snook and Carl Myers-Cole, when they do it, they absolutely just rip it up, you know, and it goes straight from floor to shoulder, which is a little bit higher of a feat. More, I think it takes more strength. Nothing wrong with a dumbbell swing. It's a perfect technique. It's perfect. It's still a clean. But yeah, about a year and a half too. But Ben, if you need to know how to do it, Ben's done a small series of videos, and his swing is pretty much, well, it's perfect. It's the perfect swing.
Perfect. I have a follower who is into climbing, and he wants to know. His name is Chitop Nem. He wants to know, where do you see Gripsport and arm lifting 20 years from now?
Wow. Well, I've been in since getting the gripper, so mainstream grip for about 22 years. And I've seen it. It comes in waves. So it's all quiet, and then there's a wave of people come into it, and there's monsters who fly out of nowhere who can do everything. And then there's the hardcore people who are just consistent and bang away at it. And then, unfortunately, then it goes a little bit quiet, and then it comes back again. And now this current wave, which is the biggest I've ever seen it, and you've got people just coming out, pushing the boundaries. So to give a perspective, when I started, the main sort of feats were closing a 3, pinching 220 kilo plates, and deadlifting an inch. And now it's closing a 4, cleaning an inch, and 225 kilo pinch. So we've not seen the true level. We've not seen the full potential of where it can go yet, I don't believe. But I'm not sure how much further. Obviously, it can only go so far. But I would like to think at least 10-20% further than what we are now. But yes, it's great. It's just great because, like I say, when 20 years ago when I was doing it, these things that people are doing now, you know, were impossible. Just weren't on the register at all. You know, nobody knew how far to go. Nobody knew to say how far they could go. So hopefully we'll see more people doing it, more countries involved, and then we'll find what the true levels are, where, you know, what the standards are and what world class, then, if you want, what is absolutely top draw. Because at the moment we're seeing really excellent things, but I still don't feel we know where the actual, like, 100-meter race, it used to be 11 seconds, now it's 9.5. I think we'll just trundle forward like that. So hopefully will see some more amazing things. And then people like me will be, as I am now, weak as a kitten, and just enjoying watching grip, which I love anyway.
Sounds really good, Nathan. There's a question from another grip legend here, Jeff Johnson. He says, Nathan, please tell the listeners about the hole in the handle of the original inch dumbbell.
Right. Good question from Jed. So Thomas Inch, when the story goes, he made the inch dumbbells. He was around 14, 15 years old, so back in the early 1900s. And he was getting stronger, so he went to his local foundry where they make cast iron, and he said, I need some bigger weights. So I think he started off with 90 pounders and like a 143 pounder. And when they got delivered, they turned up with thick handles, not thin handles. So he went back to the shop and said, I can't lift them, you know. And they explained to him, look, this much weight needs a thicker handle. It won't survive on a thin handle. It's just common sense. That's what he tells people anyway. I think he invented it myself, but that's what he was put in articles. So he was obviously a performing strongman. And we found the middleweight dumbbells, but on all three, so the middleweight, so 143 pound, 153 pound, and his 172, they all had a 6 millimeter hole directly in the center of the handle into the pipe. Now, some people thought it may be because that's part of the casting process where they pour metal in, it needs a place to escape the vent for the steam to come out. But cast iron doesn't work that way. When you make that, there's holes in the bottom. There's other ways to do it. So there were theories at the time. So even as Thomas Inch's brother, George Inch, he used to think that Thomas Inch would have a wire going around his neck, down his sleeve, with a little bar in there to stop this thing from spinning, to lift it. And he actually tried it once and almost chopped his neck off with a wire, sort of. Some people used to think Thomas Inch would wear a ring with a small stud and then put that into the hole, and that would stop it. But we tried that and it almost ripped our finger off with the spinning. So we wrote an article for Iron Mind saying one possibility would be to have a wristband with a 6 mil bar, 6 inch nail, 6 mil bar in it. That goes into the handle and then it stops it from spinning altogether. Now, I've no doubt, I got photos of Thomas Inch lifting the inch dumbbell. I have no doubt he lifted it. I have no doubt he put it over his head as well, myself. But one theory was that you could use that bar to stop it spinning, and we would think it would more of, because it was his job every night on stage, he'd walk it to the taxi, so he'd leave it at a circus, he'd come back, no one was lifted it, and then he'd pick it up and take it to a taxi and go home. So if it's his job and every night, then maybe some nights he might use the bar just to lift it and walk it off stage, and everybody'd go, wow, you know, that's amazing, sort of thing. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. Maybe it was just a mistake, because on the little dumbbells, on the 143 and the 153, the holes are filled in. They're not holes anymore, and they've been filled in for a very long time. But on the big one, I think the big one's filled as well. Actually, I think all three were filled, but with like putty, like a very soft. So that was our theory on it. It might just help him at the end of a performance to carry this dumbbell off rather than failing on stage. That was our thought behind it.
It's an interesting story. I didn't hear it before. Well, I have faith that Thomas did his lifting for sure, and I'm sure that he's legit as well. Well, we have a question from Bruno, 21 SDPO. He wants to know, in which year did you build your first inch dumbbell?
That would have been, I would say, around 2000. We made two of them, and like I say, we dropped one off to our friend Chris James, who is one of the strongest people I've ever met, without a shadow of a doubt. And well, he cleaned it, the inch dumbbell, just before, a few months before, I believe. I'll have to check my dates, but before Mark Henry did it in America. So about around mid 2000, I think we made two of them, and then later on we started making some more, refined it a bit, so just so that people could get them, because no one could obviously even have a try of what it feels like.
Interesting. And the other one, do you still have it, or did you sell it in the way?
No, so we still got it. So there's a main gym where my parents used to live. That's where we keep all our main items. So we've got, replicas of Apollon's wheels and replicas of Gorna's barbell, and all these other things. We just keep all the main bits there, and then we've all got our own private gyms, as it were.
Excellent. I have two Genie Stones replicas here in Chile, and they are in my gym at my parents' house as well.
Yes.
One is 170 kilos, and the other one is 160. So they are 330, and well, my parents have them in the gym.
They stay in there for sure.
Exactly. Unless I move into a house in the future, but in the meantime, they are going to stay there, and no one is going to move them.
Yeah.
Well, from Colombia, my friend Alejandro Zuluaga. He wants to know, which are your goals for this year in Gripsport?
Mainly to just get back to where I was. But there are a few, because people are getting quite strong. So I'm trying to chase people now and try and catch up to where they are. So this year, realistically, I hope to be making another video of Credit Card 4 again. A Millennium dumbbell, well, the 104 kilo dumbbell lift. The Millennium dumbbell is different from the 104 I make. The Millennium is a longer handle, 5-inch handle, and the 104 kilo dumbbell I make is a 4-inch handle, or 100 mil, and Millennium's 125 mil. So lift the 104 and make a video of the Credit Card 4, hopefully this year.
Those are legendary goals. The second question of Alejandro, it's, will you certify on the number 4 again? He means under the new rules?
I don't know, because to me, I am certified, and I wouldn't want to take anything away, because to get certified, I understand exactly what he means. Maybe. My original thought, because I've done it a few times with the credit card, I've done quite a few different 4s from the packet, so I thought I got some on video, so I got 2 or 3 of them on video. So my thought was to maybe do it again. It's not a real goal, because I don't want to make the last one seem like it wasn't real. If I do it again, then I don't know. But maybe I might do the 3.5, because I'm not on that list, so I might put my name on that list, just because it'd be nice to be on the all 3 lists. But I don't know. I mean, there's a few people at the moment. I mean, obviously Carl Myerscough, he's no doubt he's already doing it where he is now, and Tiziano. I think he's on the right path for it. I was hoping David Chamey as well in Russia, but I think Strongman's pulled away from gripping at the moment. But yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe I for sure will make another video of it, a more full-length video rather than, because I've done it a few times, opening from the packet and then doing the same process. So I might do that again. So we'll see.
We will see. Nice. And Alejandro also wants to know, can you lift your 104 kilograms whole dumbbell? I mean, I guess in the past you did, right?
So I've never lifted the 104 because I've only just started making those 104s, but I've lifted the Millennium. So Steve Gardner and Alan Radley, they made the Millennium dumbbell. It was basically made around 2000, hence the Millennium. And from my understanding, was a copy of Lewis Uni Apollon's. He had a dumbbell which was reportedly around 2 to 6 pounds with a 5-inch long handle, which he thought was a joke. And the story goes, he picked it up and threw it behind him. And also John Graham Marks deadlifted it to his knee. So we've made replicas of what we call the Apollon dumbbell. So it's the same as a Millennium dumbbell. I've deadlifted those, but the 104, not yet. I haven't got it yet. But I've only started making those recently because people wanted heavier dumbbells. So, but hopefully this year I'll get it.
Do you know if anyone has lifted it yet? The 104?
So now, Joe Hodgson in Australia.
Yes.
And there's going to be a debate about lifting tilted or lifting level.
Yeah.
Everybody knows a lift is a lift, and
yeah.
Joe would tell you himself he probably preferred to lift it level than tilted. But to me, lifting it tilted is still a lift. So in regards to the 104, Jesse in Finland, if I'm saying his name right, Jesse, he's
Finonen.
Is it? I think it's Jesse. I think he's lifted it. Not full deadlift, but he's lifted it. And Tanner's had a good attempt at it. I believe he's got it off the ground, maybe about knee height. And obviously Joe, and soon they'll be going to Ben Helms, and I'm pretty sure he'll get it. So I think there's about 3 people who've got it off the ground, maybe 4. Apologies if I missed anybody, but it's just a matter of time.
Excellent. A matter of time. Same as with the number 4 certification.
Hopefully.
Well, we go back to Europe. From Germany, my friend Simon Mahalski. He wants to know, are there any grip story fun facts to share which are not well known?
From myself or just...
From yourself, sure.
I'm a fairly boring person. Well, when we started making inch dumbbells, so we went to collect the first 2, and we'd been training on loadable dumbbell handles, just regular thick bar. And I was lifting 172 pound, 180 pounds, something like that on that. And I was thinking, right, I've got this inch dumbbell, no problem. So we go to the foundry to pick it up, and it's just there, and everyone's watching because they've all tried to lift it and no one could lift it. I was thinking, right, I've got this, no bother. And it was just stuck to the floor, couldn't spin it, couldn't move it. And I felt like a fool. So then we got it back. We started training, figuring out how to train with it. And from that moment, I made sure that I would never fail it again. So about 9 months later, we made some more, maybe 9-10 months later. And that time when I went down, they were sort of laughing again, oh, he's back to have another try. And I picked up, we made 3, and I carried each one out suitcase style to my van. And I thought, and since then I'll never fail to lift the 172. I'd rather leave my hand ripped off from my arm on the dumbbell than fail it. I just won't have it. Never again.
Excellent. So it's really nice. The second question of Simon is, can or could you pinch 2 York deep dish plates?
Yes. So I'm always looking for weights and always searching like eBay or now there's Facebook Marketplace, but it used to be papers, and in the back of newspapers there'd be adverts. And I found some plates for sale, so I went to collect them, and they were just they were wider plates or wider, and there were some Marcy plates. But in his gym, he had the old deep dish Yorks, which obviously were the copies of Berg Barbell, because they started making plates first, and then obviously York copied them. And I asked, could I buy them, and he knew what they were, so he said no, this chap. But he let me have a go, and I pinched him. I got him with my right hand only. It's not so. It's more awkward because the rims are thin, and they're also poorly made. It's hard to get them to sit flat and keep together. Anytime you put pressure on, they want to slip off each other, and then it's very difficult to do. But yes, I have.
Really nice. Another question from Simon. Is there a common mistake in grip training that many people do?
Yes. Well, more so in any strength or in any sort of active training, everybody gets what's called beginner gains. So you start in grip, you skyrocket, and you're doing really well. And then there's 2 mistakes that come from that. One is that you continue doing what you've done to start with, and because anything would have made you have gains, typically most people train the wrong, not the wrong way, but the least efficient way, and then the gains stop, and then they don't know what's happened, and then unfortunately most people then stop training grip altogether and just drop out of it. The other side of it is if you get into grip and you're very strong and you can do some feats straight away, like picking up big dumbbells, again, because you're not really sure how to train, you just do what you've always done, and the progress stops, and again people just fall out. So the mistake would be to not to sort of research, not to research your training, and also not to give up. Giving up is a big mistake. So I mean, some people will tell you that grippers are useless, for example, and I think that's mainly because or pinch is useless because that particular person might not be as good with pinching or grippers or thick bar as their other areas, and if you listen to those people, it will affect your training. So you need to be find out what works for you, but be consistent, research, and don't give up. The biggest mistake you do is give up because your beginner gauge was so great, and you, rather than try to evolve, you've kept going on your same training, and things start to fail. I've been there. That's how we came with our methods. There was 7, so me and my brothers, there were 7 of us training together. we were trying different methods, different techniques on how to hold grippers and pinch, and what was failing and what was working. And we, over a few years, we came together on the way we train now. And that's how you learn. It's very easy to give up. So don't mistake your beginner gains for the right way to train. Keep going and just, don't give up. Be consistent. If that makes sense, I'm rambling on. Sorry.
Oh, it's really good, Nathan. I really like it. When I do like the promo of the video, I will have that phrase, to not give up. Thank you so much. Another question from Simon: which is the most underrated grip exercise?
Grip. No, the most I would say plate curls, wrist strength, and it's got to be a strict plate curl as well. It has to be a locked wrist in my mind. Not they used to call it pizza boxing, so when people would curl and your hand would go like that, like you're holding a pizza. But I like wrist training. It's just one of my favorites. But at the moment, I feel like grippers has gone a bit underrated. Grippers were that was the mainstay. Grippers were the biggest thing years ago, and now they've come down a bit. And so it's tricky. I don't know, but pinch doesn't get much airtime. Plate pinching, it's more about sort of blobs and stuff now. So a few have come off the boil, but I would say wrist. Wrist's probably the most underrated. It's not necessarily hugely important. No grip strength area is what you would call a functional strength, because I work on building sites and there are people there in their 60s carrying sheet goods or bricks and they've never trained in their lives, but I would say wrists are the most underrated. If that's allowed as an answer. But
I really like the.
Simon's a lovely. Simon's a great guy. Simon's a very nice man.
Yes, Simon is really nice. I really like the analogy of the pizza holding like this.
Yes.
And yeah, I guess I've seen many videos of people plate curling, and they use a lot of momentum. Like it's like not strict.
It's very hard to be strict with it, because I mean when I do mine, they are fairly strict, but there is some movement, there is some, and it could be stricter, but there's loads of ways to make it easier. Maybe that's why it's underrated. It could be so loose. It can be loose everywhere. It could be a loose wrist. You can be getting underneath it. You could be cleaning it. I mean, not to bore you, but I think it's more strict to have the elbow not on the body, whereas some people have the elbow on the body and think that's strict. But I think with the body on the elbow, you can use your body to move your arm and get under it. I also think leaning over makes it easier because your center of gravity is lower and you've got an under there, because the breaking point is just below 90 degrees, just below horizontal. So the breaking point of your wrist is at this angle. That's the real hard part. That's where you will see people dip under. I've done it myself. This is the breaking part. After this, it's easy. There is the real part where your wrist is going to snap. It's either and the one, and there's, I'm not saying people are cheating. Train any way you want to train. There's no rules. Get stronger how you want to get stronger. But when you do it at that breaking point, and if you stay strict at that moment, is where your wrist gives out or you have to stop. But I like wrist training. That's my favorite one, I think, of all of them. So I could talk about wrists all day. I could talk about grip all day. I just like grip. So
excellent. There's a question now from Italy. A gripster called Tomas Gazziero. It's a really general question, but I think it's a good one. Which is the best way to train with hand grippers? What's your take on that, Nathan?
Okay, for me, it's heavy singles, heavy attempts, I call them. So if you're starting out, I would say twice a week, and then build it into 3 times a week. And so I always work to a maximum. So on a Tuesday, I'll do 4 to 6 attempts with the heaviest gripper I can do at that time. And they will be from around 30 mil. So I'll try and set the 30 mil, and then I'll try and close from there. Now, as long as there's movement on that gripper after the set, then that's one to train with. If you can't move it after the set, it's too heavy, come back down a gripper. It has to be able to move after you've let go fully, and it has to be moving. And decent movement, not just a little, you're wrestling with a good movement. So I do, so there's 4, I say 4 to 6 singles. So I do 1 attempt right hand, 1 attempt left hand, and then rest, and then do it again. Now, if I get to my 4th attempt, and I'm still moving, or I've closed the gripper, then I'll go to 6. If I get to my 4th attempt and it's not moving, I'll stop there, and then I'll drop to the next gripper down, which is still as hard as it can be. So let's say the first gripper was a 4, the next gripper is a 3.9 for argument's sake. I'll drop down to that, and then I'll try and get 4 to 6 closes with that, again, in singles. So it'll be another attempt to about 30 mil, and try and close it from there. And again, on the 4th single, if it's not moving, I'll stop. If it does move, I'll go to 6. So in my gripper day, there is a maximum of 12 singles per hand. So it's not hugely volume, it's more, it's all singles and as powerful as I can get. So that's a Tuesday and a Saturday. On the Thursday, it's a slightly lighter day, where I will do wider sets. And that's just because 3 days at maximum is a little bit too much. So that third session in between the two is just a little bit lighter and more of a wider motion. So around about 50 mil, just a very light set, and go for the same principle applies. It'll be 4 to 6 singles, or I'll practice a credit card, or a block set or something like that.
Excellent. I love your approach.
Thank you.
Super good. Another gripper question from Dave H. I don't know him, but he wants to know, how close have you been to close a GHP level 10?
I closed it.
Nice. With the block set, right?
Yes. So then, so when Wade Gillingham started making grippers, Wade, by the way, is super strong in grip. If you can find his videos, his plate pinching is fantastic. And also, I've seen a video of him do a 600-pound double overhand deadlift.
Whoa.
Yeah. Wade, very nice man and very good grip. And obviously, you know, blob was his thing. Blob, he was the blob guy. He did the blob. He would take it to shows, arenas, and he'd lift the blob all day, every day, millions of times. You know, he'd just hold it, talk to people, do what you want with it. But if you can find these videos of plate pinching and hub pinching, one of the best, very, very good. And good in grippers too. So he made, obviously, GHP, his own grippers. And I got the number 9 as a gift from a friend at the time, and I closed that, which was nice. And then Wade said, "Do I want to have a shot at number 10?" So I got it, and I couldn't close it at the time. But then, about a month or 2 later, I got it, and it's a hard gripper. It's not a nice gripper. It's, you know, the knurling The knurling shot, obviously, the knurling sharp on one side than the other. I'm not a fan of really sharp knurling. I like a little bit of knurling, but nothing that tears your skin apart. But yes, I got it to the block set.
Nice.
But
I think
Carl is doing it now, so
yeah.
it won't be far off. I think he's closed it. I'll wait. It won't be long for Carl. Carl will definitely get the block set and hopefully certify.
Yes, for sure. I have a question now from the United States again, from Tim Butler. I don't know if you know him, Timmy, on Instagram.
Yes.
He wants to know what kind of things do you do to recover faster and increase work capacity? He means because it's very tough to train thick bar often without properly recovering and can also affect crush strength negatively. So people always ask that question to him, and he doesn't know what to tell them in general.
Well, Tim, again, another great guy and really strong. I'm very consistent, really consistent trainer. What I do for recovery is just what I call it's an active recovery. So, and the way I train, my approach to training thumbs and thick bar, I do thick bar once a week, pinch once a week, and then plate curls, which also attacks the thumb a little bit. So I attack my thumb 3 times a week from different angles. So the Tuesday is pinch, Thursday is thick bar, and Saturday is wrists. And the way to stay, I find the best way is so I use like a heavy book, and I take it in a pinch, plate curling hold, and I put it over my knee, and I'll do light, full stretches with something heavy, like a nice heavy book or a 5 kilo plate. And I find that sort of active recovery is the best way to do it. It's almost instinctive. Like if you're a runner or if you do squats and the next day your legs are aching, the first thing you do is you move your legs and you try and do something light and stretch and move. And the same, I think, applies with grip. If you just do something very light on your off days, just as you're watching TV or sitting down. So for me, I always use like a heavy book, and I just literally stretch it as far as it will go, just so I can feel everything pulling and aching, and that sort of helps me recover and stay injury free.
Perfect. And coming to the last questions, what's your take on the following gripper technique for training? The first one I want to know is table no set.
Okay. As a feat, it's nice. As simple to train, I wouldn't use it as a training method. Only because you need to keep your hand. It's not natural anyway, but you need to be able to. So when you do normal gripping, as it were, it's smooth. A table no set is not smooth. It's picking it up, it's moving around, it's starting. Then your fingers will lock slightly because you've just got it wrong, and you have to start again, and then you get it. So as something to train with, I wouldn't recommend it because I think it will cause injury. As a feat of strength, yeah, but you've got to be careful when you get when you've been training for a long time and you start getting strong relevant to how you feel strong. You get little knockbacks easier, much easier. So whereas if you were when you start training, you feel like you can do anything. You can do it all parts of it. But when you get honed in, you get near your best, anything can knock you back. Even a wrong meal in the day. And you try and train later on at night, you just don't feel right. You're not hitting your good numbers. So I think it's nice as a feat, but I wouldn't recommend using it to train with for the table no set.
I understand. So the next technique is negatives. I have heard many opinions. I want to know your take, Nathan.
No, don't do them. It's too no. Um, it's just too risky. Too many injuries. There's no benefit to it. You have to. It's the same with setting when people set and they're on their legs and they're bracing on their thighs. You need to get strong every part of you at the same time on a continuous level. If you try and go too far ahead, like with negatives, something isn't ready. So your skin is not ready, or your ligaments aren't ready. So something always gives out. So whether it's physical, you can see torn skin, or whether it's internal or bruise or stretched ligaments. So you don't do it in any other area, and you wouldn't do it. I don't recommend it in grip at all.
Okay. And the next technique, field grippers. What's your take on them?
What was that?
I think I have one. I have one here.
File grippers.
This kind of grippers.
That's
The feeling.
yes, I get you. That's okay. That's fine. Yeah, I mean, there's no harm in it. It's the same. I would take the same approach I would train with anyway. Progression might be an issue, but once you get used to the file gripper, I think it'd be fine. It's easy with a normal gripper, not easier, but when it's closed, you know it's closed. So to get used to that range, I think no harm in it. But I don't like filing my grippers because I like my grippers. But I do have a filed number 4, which somebody sent me. So yeah, it's okay. It's fine.
I said that those were 3 techniques. Actually, there were 5. The next one is extended handles. What's your take on those?
Okay. I mean, it depends. I mean, there's no. It depends what your goals are. If you want to close a number 4, then I don't think that would help. I think you're more sticking to exactly the style of gripper. You get used to that because you haven't got a lot of time to train grip sessions. Can be mine are quite short. So and you have to be strict as well. So on your days off, don't touch grip stuff. It's really hard to do. It's very frustrating. But on those days off, don't touch anything grip related. So, I mean, maybe put them at the end of the session, have a try, but I think it's just another technique you need to learn. Obviously, extended handles mean they're wider. So it's more technique to learn to get to training where. So I personally wouldn't use it, but I don't see any harm other than learning a new technique.
Nice. And the last one, choker grippers.
I'm not a fan, only because it's similar to a negative. It's similar to trying to go beyond what you're ready for. And the only reason, I think the only reason you'd use a choker is to use a heavier gripper so you can focus on that last bit. But for me, I think it's better to be able to get to that gripper when you're ready. So if you can't set that gripper, then something's not ready. You're just not ready for it. So I don't use them.
Perfect. Well, Nathan, the last words belongs to you. What's like a message or something that you would like the viewers to take away from this lovely interview?
The first thing would be, can everybody stop getting stronger? Just give me a chance, give everybody else a chance to catch up. If I just take a break for a few months, it'd be fantastic. Stay consistent. Be consistent in training. Do the training you like, but be consistent with it. And don't worry about if it's not trendy. If grippers aren't trendy at the moment, train them. Just stay consistent. Don't worry about it, and the progress will be made. So just keep going.
Thanks, Nathan. And thanks again for joining me in another episode of Gripsport Latino. We really admire you here in South America, and you are really admired all over the world. So
Thank
it's
you.
such an honor to have you here, and I hope we can still keep in touch for another interview, or for when I visit the UK for lifting the Dini stones and many other feats of strength. I hope so.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. Okay.
So thank you, Nathan, and see you soon. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Goodbye, and goodbye, everyone.